Well, it's time again for another Quarter Notes. This is the segment where I look at 4 albums in a little bit more of a concise review. These are albums that I've been digging, I've been listening to, I've been liking, or they're prominent things that people want to hear my opinion about, but I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I still want to talk about them. So we've got 4 albums on this one, and you've already seen the titles, so let's dive into them. Love Is by Steve Howe. So Steve Howe, prominent lead guitarist for Yes for decades and decades and decades, left here and there. He left in the 80s, and he joined the band in the late 60s, early 70s. Anyway, we all know who Steve Howe is. He has a new studio release of Love Is, and this is his 25th studio album. I didn't realize this guy kept doing solo work. Like, I have his Beginnings and the Steve Howe album, but other than those two, I didn't really know the dude did solo stuff outside of Yes. But here we are on Love Is, and it's fine. It's a good album. It's a good instrumental album. I'm getting flavors of drama as well as Fly From Here on a number of these tracks. In fact, Sound Picture has a very similar riff from Fly From Here, like ripped right out of it. There are some moments that I feel drag a little bit. I appreciate the fact that it is on the shorter side at about 43 minutes, because I feel like if it was any longer, it'd honestly just get lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad that it's a little bit on the shorter side, so it's got like a really concise, bite-sized, easily digestible section of music, and I was never really bored. I was always engaged, but I never really felt like there was anything on here that I wanted to come back to. So overall, this one is a stream from me. I'd recommend it if you're a big fan of Steve Howe, but we don't have those really emotive, soaring soundscapes of the guitar work that I was really expecting. You know, we don't have that shredding that we had from Relayered to the Yes album. We don't have those really emotive, powerful ballads that we had from like Going for the One or Tales of Topographic Ocean. This just kind of feels like guitar candy in that sense. It's not quite noodling away, and it's not quite wankery, but it's more like guitar candy. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Love Is from Steve Howe. American Head by the Flaming Lips. So the Flaming Lips are back in the studio. They are not doing a cover album. They're not doing a live special album. It's their own unique track. So I've been a pretty big Flaming Lips fan since about the early 2000s, but I've always found their music, for me, has always been very hit and miss. Like, I love Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. I always love the Soft Bulletin. And the last one that I really liked from them was Embryotic. I kind of dug some of their cover stuff, like their Dark Side of the Moon stuff and their Beatles stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, what I really liked was their melancholy, trippy, very acid rock bangers. You know, like, I really love the more engaging stuff, the very happy, melancholical stuff, and that's what really brought me to the Flaming Lips, and just how trippy and like atmospheric it is. Like, outside of maybe the Polyphonic Spree, there was no other band that was able to handle these very heavy and concept ideas and approaching music with this style of art, while also be very pleasant, very accessible, very poppy, very trippy in terms of their actual presentation of music. And I mean, within the 2010s, they did waver a little bit. The Terror I enjoyed in terms of the concept and how much of a slow burn it was for me, but all their other stuff just kind of left me feeling flat. So when it came to American Head, I didn't really have too high of an expectation, but I was still exceeded in my expectation. Like, I went in with a low expectation and it exceeded it. Not by much, but it still exceeded it. What I really appreciate is, again, that handling of these very heavy concepts of death, mortality, of the finite limitations that we have for a mortal life, and blending it with very pleasant, very accessible, very trippy rock, or at least sounds. I mean, some of these I'm not quite sure about. Like Mother Please Don't Be Sad is a little too melancholy for me, but I do really appreciate When We Die When We're High, even though, you know, again, I'm not quite sure about the subject matter on that. I do love the play out of this track. I love how fun it is, how bouncy it is, how groovy it is. And yeah, I mean, overall it's, and I hate to use this phrase, but it's a very pleasant album, even considering we have such heavy material that's surrounding it. I do wish that there was a little bit more of a punch to this album. I do wish that there was a little bit more engagement for the listener, because I don't feel all that engaged. I feel much more like I'm an observer of a art piece that's taking place rather than actively engaging within it. I feel like it's a little almost too mellow, a little too melancholy at times, and not enough real engagement in it, because I always love the blending of that melancholy concept in a very accessible, fun way. So yeah, I mean, even at the end of the day, this is still one that I would probably download onto my computer. It's still a really good 50 minutes worth of music that I would highly recommend if you are a Flaming Lips fan, or you're into this psychedelic rock, this trippy, acidy rock style. But don't expect, you know, a return to form in terms of like the next Yoshima or Soft Bulletin or Embryotic, because it's not quite this, but it is streets ahead from anything that we got within the past 10 years. So yeah, check it out. All the Time by Fire Tiger. So Fire Tiger is a band that reached out to me, sent me a physical copy of their album. I have it in my collection. It's a record, and these guys are just a lot of fun. They are a throwback 80s synthwave. The main influence for me is Blondie. Definitely channeling that fun, lighthearted, valley, mall scene, 80s wave stuff. And where I'm a little bit on the lukewarm when it comes to this style of music, what I like is their lightheartedness, their ability to have fun with the music, and it's just very optimistic. It is definitely a throwback. It's a huge throwback to the 80s, but I really do enjoy it. I mean, the title track of All the Time is just a banger, and I can't help but just really enjoy it. Same with like Magical Brew and Flying Solo. They're all kind of fun. They're all kind of very innocent in that sense as well. Like they're not trying to tackle extremely heavy concepts or anything like that, but it is a very pleasant listen to. I find myself putting this on when I just need a quick pick-me-up, because it's just under 40 minutes, so it's a really nice digestible track of music. Yeah, I would have no problem, if I didn't already, picking it up in physical format. I really enjoyed myself with this one. If you're into more of that almost bubblegum pop from the 80s, you know, very innocent, very fun, then this one's definitely for you. It's got a lot of really nice synthwave sounds to it. The guitar work is very punchy, and the lead singer on this is just, her emotions, her writing styles is very, very punchy and very fun. And that's kind of the main take-home message on this one, is fun. So yeah, go and check it out. It gets the note seal of approval. It's a fun album if you're into this style of music. Because if you're not into this style of music, I really wouldn't check it out myself. But I mean, it's 37 minutes, so what do you got to lose? And so yeah, that's about it for that one. Eminent Sleaze from Steven Wilson. So, Steven Wilson has dropped a new single to help promote The Future Bites, his album that was supposed to come out this year that was postponed because of, well, the pandemic that's going on. And I've got some opinions. I've got some opinions about that process, but I mean, you do you, man. You know, I don't want to, you know, encroach on your marketing ploy for this album. That's cool. But I mean, we had Personal Shopper, way back in like February or March, and we've really haven't gotten anything else leading up for this album that was supposed to be released back in like May or June. And now we have another release of Eminent Sleaze. And where I found Personal Shopper took... Oh no! just like the band, it keeps falling off. Ouch, dark. Where I felt like Personal Shopper was kind of a step in the right direction from To the Bone, because as you guys know, I'm not a fan of To the Bone, but I felt like it still has that little bit of accessibility, but it's bringing it through into more of a experimentation. I don't want to really say progressive rock, but it was at the end of the day. And what we have for Eminent Sleaze, I feel like it's a marriage between Steven Wilson's two loves of music, where he loves that popular, catchy, very hooky, very slapping music that we had from, like, say, ABBA or Prince, that kind of 80s fun, even though ABBA was more in the 70s, but that style of music, while also incorporating a lot of the more trippy, acid rock, very psychedelic stuff from like Pink Floyd. And so I feel like this is kind of a marriage between those two, especially between, say, like Pink Floyd and Prince. Like, I feel like if there was a Venn diagram between those two artists, this would be that small sliver right in the middle. It's got a really chunky bass line, like a very Roger Waters bass line on this track. And I'm getting flavors, especially by the end of it, of like play that funky music, white boy, especially with that dun 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 dun. Like, it's got that same groove, it's got that same bottom to it, and then overlaying it, it has this smooth, very produced and very polished feeling that like Prince had on his albums. And so I feel like it's kind of a marriage between those two ideologies. And where this might not necessarily work in the long run, I feel like it does work on this. Like, it's very tasty. It's got a lot of flavors on it. And if this were just a single, I wouldn't really have too much else to say about it. But because it does, I hope, work in the overall concept of this whole The Future Bites thing that he's got going on, I'm kind of excited to see where it goes from here, because I always like to see how singles from Steven Wilson fit into the concept of the overall album. And I know that it's too early to tell where this song kind of fits within that runtime. So that's where I'm kind of wavering. I mean, I do enjoy the track. I thought it slapped. I know I will be returning to it. I don't think I like it quite as much as Personal Shopper, because I really liked where Personal Shopper was going and what it was doing in the time that it spent. This one does feel more like a single. This one feels much more like a tangible, radio-friendly, very accessible track from an artist that is trying to capture that feeling. Like, I feel like this track is doing what To the Bone was attempting to do and failed. I feel like this track succeeds. I really do, but I do want to wait until I hear it in the concept of the album. So that's where I'm at for Eminent Sleaze. This one would be kind of near a download. I'd probably waver more towards a stream, though, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, that's where I'm at for Eminent Sleaze by Steven Wilson. But that's about it. Okay, so those are the 4 that we've got for this edition of Quarter Notes. What did you guys think? Did you love these albums and tracks? Did you hate them? What are other ones that you want to see me cover on this little series? Let me know all that by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out. Oh, wait, before I go. Oh boy, I haven't done this yet. I have a podcast. Yeah, I guess I should actually start talking about that. I've got about 6 episodes out at the time of recording. Next week, I'm going to be dropping my 7th episode. It's me talking to my friends about progressive rock music. It's called Quid Prog Quo. I'll leave a link for where you can listen to that. It's wherever you can find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, Google. It's on everything. So go check it out. Quid Prog Quo. Yeah, I give an album to a friend and they get me to listen to an album. Then we come together and talk about it. So yeah, go and check that out. Okay, that's about it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.